I just have to raise a very important disclaimer. This is the first time that I actually moderate such a big panel. It's usually maximum 4 people. Today I'm blessed with 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm 2 remotely, so yay! Okay, so be patient with me, everyone. Juliet Kioma. Juliet is a passionate entrepreneurial leader who inspires women globally to lead with courage and purpose. Juliet. Nice to meet you, Juliet. Joining us remotely, we have Dr. Beatrix Henkel, the co-founder of Hempy People, and she is pioneering the sustainable wellness space through Hempy People, promoting conscientious, values-driven business practices. Welcome, Dr. Beatrix. Thank you for joining us online.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Angel Farkan is a student at Heriot-Watt University. Angel is a student leader and advocate for youth-led empowerment initiatives, driving change from the classroom to the community. Welcome, Angel. Thank you for being with us. Stephanie Skripko, student also at Heriot-Watt University. She brings a unique perspective on creative innovation, combining academic excellence with entrepreneurial curiosity. Thank you for being with us. Then Betsy Irene Orhi, lead strategist for Evening Consulting. At Evening Consulting, Betsy helps organizations gain clarity and resilience through strategic innovation and advisory. Thank you for being with us today. Noelle Parks, the founder at Ivy Lead Academy, is joining us remotely. Noelle leads Ivy Lead Academy, a platform that is dedicated to nurturing confident and empathetic leadership in the next generation of women. Thank you, Noelle, for being with us today. Is she online? No? Zahra Fattah, founder and managing director, Kent Consulting and Events. Zahra heads the consulting and events company specializing in investment promotion, events, strategy, and public-private collaboration. Welcome, Zahra. Camila Cascio, commercial director and business strategist at DART, and also a proud member of Dubai Business Women Council. Yay! Camila is a commercial strategist at DART, known for steering business growth through transformative and courageous decision-making. And if there's somebody who's synonymous to the word grit, it's definitely her. So welcome, Camila. Jihan Bashir, Corporate Affairs and Engagement Director, L'Oréal Middle East. Jihan leads corporate affairs for L'Oréal Middle East, aligning bold brand strategies with real-time stakeholder needs and market shifts. Welcome, Jihan. Jihan still doesn't know, I'm very animated, so welcome on board. Sonali Chopra, co-founder, Project Happiness UAE. She is a social entrepreneur promoting mental well-being and inclusive business through her venture, Project Happiness UAE. So welcome. Last but not least, Dr. Tracy Scott, Assistant Professor of Law, Heriot-Watt University, and she brings legal expertise and academic insight into governance, gender equity, and entrepreneurship. And she just had one of the most amazing presentations that I've been a part of in so long. So, Dr. Tracy, thank you. Kudos. Now, this panel, as you can see, I mean, just introducing them, I feel like I've lost 300 calories. What we're going to do is we're going to ask general questions where you can all pitch in and say your point of view or your feedback or your insights, and then we're going to be heading towards more targeted questions that are more relative to your industries, the work that you're doing, so that the audience can get a better understanding about what you guys are doing, what you ladies are doing. So for the sake of time, let's try to keep our answers short and sweet. At the end, we have around 15 minutes left for the discussion. So we'll begin. I want to start off with a question to all of you as panelists. We all know that courageous leadership comes in different forms. How do you personally define it, and what does it look like in your entrepreneurial or professional journey? So this is very personal. So I want to hear each and every one of your personal intake on this one, and let's keep it as concise as possible. Who wants to go first? You have mics? Okay. Let's start the conversation. We want to have a discussion here. So feel free to pitch in.
I'm just saying this way to this way just because, it seems logical.
Hello. I think that was courageous, maybe, to begin this, to begin by speaking about courage on this esteemed panel. But I think courage takes many forms. There's no one definition for it. The one that I personally find most helpful is that it's not the absence of fear. It's just that you know that there's something more important you need to do, you got to run, you have to make it happen. And I think as an entrepreneur or as a person, the moment you're trying to accomplish something, you need courage. There will be, especially in entrepreneurship, and I would say especially as a social enterprise, I work with my brother, Pulkit Chopra, who's also an alumni of Harry University, that there will be a lot of things that are uncharted because the business model, the business structure is different than perhaps what other business models are there. And because there's so much of a variety, you constantly have to be on your toes and be courageous to take the step when you really cannot even see the ground ahead of you. So,
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure being among all those successful women. So for me, I've been listening to everything you said, that you introduced, Nadine, and as you said, courage is not having fear. Courage is living with the fear and doing what we have to do or what we think we should do, what we believe in, despite the fear, because the fear does not leave us. But for me, it's maybe standing firm in your values, and even when things get tough and when the result does not come out as we want, it's really to take the responsibility. And there's one moment where I think we all led with courage, and I'm sure when I will tell you what this moment is, I'm sure you will all knock your head, is during COVID. Because for me, COVID time was a moment where there was a rise of individual courage and a rise of collective courage. So we all had to do things differently, whether at work, whether in our personal lives with our families, and it defines us finally as human beings, just to be there and make it.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure being here and sitting among such amazing and women that are accomplishing a lot. So on to the question, I'll say for me, courage, in addition to what everyone has said already, is going ahead without having to know all the answers. Because sometimes we definitely do not step into everything having it all figured out. But the courage to know that this is the direction I want to go, and having a little faith, right, and going forward without knowing all the answers, that's courage. That you're able to see just 200 meters ahead of you, but you're going to take that dive. It doesn't excuse not doing your research, of course, but it's, you can't see the whole 360 or anything before you get into it. You find out while you're at it, and that's, taking that step is courage.
Okay, so when it comes to courage, I define it as your willingness to admit that you do not know. I feel like sometimes we're so afraid of being that person that doesn't have. Sorry. I feel like sometimes we are afraid of being that person that doesn't know the answers to some things, that we prefer to sit in silent ignorance because we don't want people to see us as less knowledgeable. But I think courage is owning up to the fact that your lack of knowledge or your lack of experience in something is not a determinant of your self-worth. Because you don't know the answer to a question does not mean that you are any less capable or any less worthy. You simply don't know. So courage is honing in on that and returning back to the student mindset, whereby you see yourself as a student, regardless of any situation you find yourself. There's always something to learn.
All right, so strongly, excellent, well put together answers. I'm going to say just a bit personally, for me, it's about taking the path that I feel I want to take, that is important, and that follows my values, rather than getting distracted by the, oh, but this is the next step, or this is what my employer wants me to do, or this is what society expects me to do. It really is just being able to choose my own way to what I want to do in my future and not get stuck on the hamster wheel of, oh, but you should be going for that now. So I think it really just basically is following your own path and the things you know are important and not letting all the noise everywhere else distract you from that. Which I've let it do that to me a couple of times, so I always have to remind myself that that's really important.
So my answer is very related to yours, because to me, like, what it took me the most to admit in terms of courage is being myself. And I think that especially in today's world, when they want to put labels on you, they want to tell you who you have to be and how you have to do things, I think that being your own true self and be who you want to be. Like, it's like when you are a kid and they ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then when we grow up, we lose that. And we just decide to be whatever they tell you that we have to be. Oh, you're supposed to be this way, you're supposed to be that way. And I've noticed myself the difference, the impact that it had on my personal life and on my work life. When I was like, you know what, I don't want to be labeled, I'm just gonna be myself. And that's when I saw that things actually started to be the best way possible. But it took me a lot of courage, because I was always like, oh, I'm not okay enough, this is not how it's supposed to be, the way I dress, the way I look, the way I speak. But then eventually, I found the courage and everything just turned to be better.
Just want to start with a just preview that it's my first conference, and today I'm just representing the young voice of the ladies. And my question is also related to both of your answers, as for many years actually women should fit in any boundaries that the society built for us. And for many years women just fight for their independence, financial independence, for family, for husband. And the courage today is actually that we are doing every day. So there are little steps, but we are actually doing that. So we are not afraid of taking any risks. We are not afraid of standing out and to be ourselves and say to the world that we are here. So, and we have enough knowledge, enough strength to compete and be on the same page with a male. And yeah, we are still women, but we are great, and we are great in our independence, in our uniqueness, and all of this stuff.
Can we give her a round of applause? It's her first conference as a speaker. Well done, well said. Thank you.
This was beautiful. It's very nice. Yeah, I think courage comes in different forms. So we can be courageous every day in different forms, different variations. For me personally, courage came when I left a perfectly safe job to open my own business. This was 18 months ago, and this was basically in honor for my late mother. Actually, who was always a businesswoman, and for me it was to live on her legacy and do what I love doing, which is supporting governments with the economic development efforts and helping governments to thrive. So for me, courage came through adversity, and I don't see adversity as a challenge, but I see it always as an opportunity.
Well, my fellow panelists have beautiful definitions of courageous leadership. Well, if you ask me in one sentence, I would also say courageous leadership is the intersection of vulnerability and vision. But if you ask me as a woman, life throws you various opportunities. As a daughter, as a mother, a wife, or a friend, you've learned situations wherein you can portray your courageous leadership. And that's when you don't know, like my fellow panelist said, you don't know when you're ready, but start even before you're ready. That's courageous leadership, I guess.
I agree 100%. We're going to do a lot of clapping hands today because that's such an empowering discussion. And at the same time, it's also courageous leadership when it comes to women entrepreneurs has a completely different level and flavor to it, which brings us to the last panelist, Dr. Beatrix. What's your take on that?
Thank you. I was listening to many of the answers, and I really great insight. And when I tried to answer this for myself, I answered it as courageous leadership and being courageous starts from objectively seeing who I am, with all that's included, all the strengths, all the areas developed, all the patterns that I'm realizing, subconscious patterns. I'm realizing how I sabotage myself. All the I don't knows and many, many more. All these dimensions and embracing it with grace and acknowledging it, that this is who I am at this very moment, and strengthening it when it gets really tough and challenging. Slowly, this is how I will become courage.
Thank you, Doctor. On the topic of courage, because we're going to dive into different categories on different subtopics. But while sticking to the to the topic of courage, Juliet, I want to ask you. You've worked with diverse communities of women. What common thread of courage have you witnessed amongst them?
Okay, with this one, I've noticed two qualities. The first is their ability to own a room they walk into, and the second is their ability to be the smallest person in the room. So it's your ability to walk into a room that you might not necessarily see people that look like you, but you don't cower. You stand straight, you speak up, and you talk because you know that you belong in that room. The second one would be the smallest person in the room is what I said earlier today, whereby you don't allow it to define your self-worth. You don't allow it to define your value. You embrace that mindset of you are here to learn. And I think by applying those two things that I have just shared, you can fully embrace that courageous side of you. And that is the side of you that just remains that learner. I think it's so beautiful to remain in that learning position where you open your mind and your heart to the fact that you do not have all the answers and you really do not need to.
Thank you. That was beautiful. And really, I mean, coming from your personal experience, it's also super validated. But we all know that when we're leading an organization or a group or a company, that regardless of its size, I mean, yes, we do need courage, but we also need a certain amount of strategy. Like the strategic part of leading is also just as important, which directs me to Betsy. How can strategy, in your opinion, help female founders stay focused, especially when they're navigating uncertain times or there's some kind of challenge along the way?
Thank you. So, first of all, when your vision is clear and you have a direction, that's very important because when things get uncertain, when things get tough, you have to go back to what was the why. Why is this important? Why did I get on this journey? What is my end goal? And is this still important to me now? And what's my direction? So going back to that why, and that's why it's important to have your vision and the direction of your company or your business or even your life set and have that clarity because that's like your roadmap. So if your roadmap is clear to you, there could be many roads to get to that destination and there might be detours and road bumps, but when where you're going is clear, then it's easier to navigate because I have a destination in mind. I'm not wandering, right? So that helps. So having that strategy is important. Another thing, a way to tackle that uncertainty is when you look at, I call them different circles. So there's your circle of control, there's your circle of influence, and there's a circle that is outside of your control, right? So with your strategy, you have to come back home and look at what is within my circle of control, what can I do? What is within my circle of influence? What can I, set in motion that something else can help me to get done? And what is outside that circle of control? Then we do not spend too much energy fretting on it. Sometimes, because as a science student, I would say energy will change from one form to another, and it's the same except for loss in heat, right? So when there's a situation that I don't understand or I begin to fret about it, I always tell myself to calm down because that energy I'm dissipating. So when I'm uncertain and I'm fretting, it's energy lost as heat. So I need to translate all that energy in me to solve the problem. So if you're going to translate from mechanical energy to electrical energy, you're going to get some of it lost as heat. But so same thing mentally.
my strategy is to convert all that energy within me, not to start fretting. That's why I think about my circle of control, my circle of influence, and then what is outside of that circle. Giving energy to it takes out of the energy I could put into what I can control and influence. So that's my mindset of working with strategy in uncertainty. Lastly, community always helps.
Yes.
Right? So tapping into your community, mentors, friends, whatever it is, draw the energy, the support, the information, the knowledge from that community.
Thank you. Everything is so on point what you said. I agree 100%. And I want to circle back and give another general question to the panel. Okay, and hear your different points of views on that. But I want to start with the feedback of Dr. Beatrix. You're still there? Dr. Henkel, this is a question to all the panelists, but I want to start with you. As women in business, with women leaders, there's always in the back of our head this imposter syndrome that pops out and creeps up on us every once in a while. And the failure or the fear of failure is always at the top of our list of words. So fear of failure, imposter syndrome, they're so real for so many entrepreneurs, not just women, men and women. But what is one pivotal moment where you overcame this, and how? And try to be as personal as possible, because honestly, I think everybody needs to learn different tips and tricks and ways to adapt to it. We start with you, Dr. Beatrice.
Thank you for asking me first. It's a very big question. When you think of failure, then lots of things come up in your body as well. If you just observe yourself, even mentally saying failure, you will sense certain reactions. So when it comes real, and when you start your business and you are an entrepreneur, and later on you are a business owner, then you really see this in front of your eyes. And this can be happening very often, and it can happen very unexpected as well. Now, the first thing that I did, and that was an example that I would bring back to say that it's all not going to work. So let me be as specific as I can be. So we opened a concept store, in Ashman. We introduced Industrial Hub and educating the community, and I think it's a fabulous idea, And after a year, we realized that, yes, it's an amazing idea, but it might not be the right place, and that could have been a failure. However, and that can be a different example for you, but if you start by redefining what failure means to you, and if you say, well, it's a learning, I learned this is not the right place, I'm just going to move to a different one. And I'm going to find the right constellation, the right people, the right place, the right time, and it's going to work when it's meant to work. And everything is going to get easier. Failure becomes difficult because we attach a negative sign to it. And that happens to many of the words that we're using. And if you remove that negative sign, and if you stay as a learner, which some of the ladies mentioned, then that becomes really easy. You say, well, it's a learning, and I'm learning. I'm living this first experience, and I'm learning. And I'm constantly learning, and I'm so grateful for the learning experience. Everything starts changing. So I would say embrace it, and embrace it because it's just a learning experience. It's nothing else. It's not positive or negative. It just helps you move forward on your journey. And it's going to help you to become better, to become more experienced. And maybe you don't even know how it's going to help you until a couple of years later. And that's absolutely fine. So I would say embrace it and be grateful for it.
That's beautiful.
It's going to help you every single time.
It's beautiful. It's a very nice perspective. Again, we're talking about perspective. It's a different way to look at a word that has a negative connotation, but it's all in our minds and how we perceive it. If we want to shift it around in a positive way, it will really change everything. What about the rest of the panel? What's your take on that? I'd love to hear from you.
You just start as a conversation.
Whoever's ready.
So I will take it. I just want to give an example of a moment that was I mean, for me, it was a moment, a difficult one, because I needed to take a decision. It was 1.5 years ago. There's someone here from my team. She's here on a Saturday with me. I'd like to thank her. I come from the business, and I've been working for 23 years in the business. It's my first role in the corporate world, so I'm not a corporate person. I'm used to sales, to numbers, very clear KPIs. And 1.5 years ago, my boss called me and he told me, Jehan, we want to put you on this mission. We want you to take over the corporate affairs and engagement. And I've never done corporate affairs in my life. I didn't even know what corporate affairs meant. I went to an interview with my other boss, and she told me, do you know what, and we call it CA and E, just to tell you how unknowledgeable I was. And I told her, of course, this is communication, advocacy, and engagement. As it was, corporate affairs and engagement. And I really felt the imposter syndrome. That was the moment. And I was like, can I do it? What do I know about this job? I'm not a specifically a people's person. I'm not someone who knows how to deal with relations. I deal with numbers. This is what I've learned all my life. And then it was either I take the job or I remain in my own place. And for me it was like, okay, what do I do? A lot of consultations, spoke to my husband, you know, men, take your decision, they don't have a lot of time, it's not so complicated. Then I went to my friends and we discussed, you know, friends, they won't tell you because they won't want to hurt you. I had to take a decision, so I took a coach. It was a gift I gave to myself. And sometimes you need this help coming from outside. And you need to take the time to go back and do the thing in a structured way. It's not, intuition is important. With time we learn to listen to our intuition because it's a mix of experience and intuition, but it's not enough. So we need to really take the time to really build and be prepared for what's next. And this is also a gift. So sometimes courage comes from this gift. And I was accompanied, and it helped me really understand what can I bring to this new role? What can I learn from it? And what are the areas that I should improve, which I'm still working on. But it's a progress, you know, it's not about perfection, it's about really the progress that you make and accepting sometimes that you're going to make mistakes. One last comment before I give the mic to someone else. It's also important to understand the environment you're evolving in. So the culture at L'Oréal today is a very safe culture. So chances are given to people, chances are given to women, and 50% women are in high risk, like in manager responsibilities at L'Oréal. So we are embracing it today. But I think I was at the right time also in the right environment. And it's important to really measure the environment you're in, also to measure the level of risk and how you're going to manage your courage and your decisions based on all this. So that was my personal experience.
Thank you for sharing it. Thank you. I feel we all have like common denominators to share with you as well, like bits and pieces that resonate with us. Would you like to go?
So I was just thinking of, you know, what Dr. Beatrix said and what the panelists have shared. And yes, like you said, there's so much of commonality in what we're sharing today. I couldn't feel better than Dr. Beatrix to say that, you know, if you have to convert the fear of failure into the opportunity to learn, and if you convert that, then the fear of failure slowly goes away. It doesn't completely go away. Imposter syndrome also is a very constant accompanying friend, like a little shadow that just walks with you wherever you go. But I also think it's perhaps in the literature around entrepreneurship, they always say fail and fail fast. So that always helps to keep in mind. The concept of unlearning and learning and considering the whole world right now has to do it, and you don't really feel that alone because everyone's on that same pathway. And with regards to imposter syndrome, I think the one thing personally I can share, something similar to what you were saying, is when you're thrust in a role that is completely new and you have no clue where you're going, you feel the nervousness every time. In Project Happiness, I'm the co-founder. I'm not the business lead. That is Pulkit, who has the business background. I have a background in international studies, and even though I think my economics degree gave me a lot of friendliness with math, it doesn't necessarily translate the same way when you have to run a business. And somehow, believing in the mission, and like you were saying, having a strategy, but constantly having a goal that you want to walk towards, helps you bypass all of these little fear of failures, fear of not knowing, the little imposter syndrome that crops up every time. So,
Thank you. I'm sorry, but we really need to shorten our answers a little bit because we need to give it.
Really quick answers.
Yes, please.
I'm going to illustrate 3 really quick answers. These are my tips, really, really practical tips, so no story behind them except for I'm a lawyer. And when you have to learn how to, work in a courtroom, it's intimidating. So my advice is find your uniform. Find the thing that you can walk in to whichever room you're walking into and feel awesome, like you belong there. Find your uniform that you can put on and walk in and do well. The next one is practice. You're never good at anything without practice, so do the practice thing and actually just own the room. Even if you don't feel you do, walk in and believe you do anyway. And all of that, even if you kind of have to, get yourself up for it, that will, anywhere you go, will be helpful to sort of, even if maybe you're like, ooh, maybe I don't belong here, look at all those men in suits, that will make you feel better and it will make you belong there. Okay, that's my short answer.
Thank you. If we can all keep it super concise like Dr.
3 points.
So in my case, I'm gonna be short, but I just wanna share the thing that really changed my way to see failure. And basically, I've lost my father all of a sudden. It was like that. It was healthy. I was already here. I was far away from home, and I didn't know what to do. And I just moved into a country. I have no money. I was sleeping on the floor because I couldn't buy any furniture, right? And until that moment, I was always like, oh, I'm not gonna do this because like, what happens if I fail? What happens if like I waste my time and everything? But then after that happened, it was so sad that it was so weird that now that it's accompanying me in the best way possible. It's like, like he's always with me and he's kind of pushing me. He's like, okay, you want to start that business, what if you fail? You do another one. Because there are worse things that you overcame. And when people want to put in my brain things that may cause me imposter syndrome, I'm like, no, there's no imposter here. I did those things. I am good. So like, I feel everybody fails. Every story that we hear, like people fail, and then they come back stronger. So you need to fail sometimes to learn new things, And then you're not imposing anybody. You're just good at what you do.
To make my story short, basically, so my pivotal role was when I decided to go abroad and to study in university at different language, in English, and to do the professionality as business administration. So basically, I also had this thought in mind: what if I fail? What if I will not apply to this university? What will I do? And the answer was, I will try again. I will just try again until I will reach my specific point to study abroad, to get diverse experience, knowledge, and yes, there is a famous quote, so Rome, or basically Moscow, was not built in one day. So yes, you failed, and the rightest path that you have is actually the hardest one. So be prepared for the failures. They make you stronger.
Yeah, very well said. I agree with everything that was said. So I'm going to keep it very short. My way to overcome this is over-prepare. I think anyone who's an athlete, business leader, expert, nothing comes out of nothing, as you said. Rome was not built in a day. So over-prepare, be confident in your abilities, embrace uncertainty, and most importantly, be kind to yourself. This is my advice.
That last part is so important, especially amongst women.
Well, I also had this demanding situation wherein I was called to lead up a business, a construction business, which is normally male dominated. I was questioned, okay, you are just 22. Are you even capable to make a decision? You are a girl. Why step up? I mean, you are not supposed to be here. I was questioned, but there is this call inside you, like everyone said here. Be ready to break in order to be built. That's the first step. If you have an openness within you to be able to break, even if everybody throws stones at you, you are ready to conquer it with resilience, with courage. Then you are a leader. You are rising to the prominence of a leader. That's my answer.
Anybody else has anything? Okay, now let's move to another focused questions. I would like to call it the real world reflections section. And I'm going to ask a few of you, select one of you, a specific question, and I would love to hear your personal feedback on this one. I want to start with Jihan. Can you share a moment where aligning your leadership with L'Oréal's brand vision demanded true courage? And if it's a story, let's try to have a summary. No, it goes to everyone because we need to cover more questions. You look so good from here. Wow. Sorry, I had to come by and say hello. Okay.
So I'm not going to give a story because I don't want to know the story, but I will give you a little bit how we work at L'Oréal because it's an everyday kind of courage story within our brands. So first we have a portfolio of 37 brands that are very different. And so every day we have, a story of the brand or people coming from the brand with a problem of communication or something like that. And it's very difficult to take decisions when it comes to problems that you face because you have in front of you the brand teams. So they're very stressed because there is, for example, an issue that comes from the brand, and at the same time, you have to be careful regarding the reputation of the brand, regarding what can happen, in a certain situation. And basically, what we do is really to handle people. It's more about how you handle the people when you have an issue, rather than handling the situation itself. And one of the examples was that we, for example, had one feedback that we were too tough on a certain decision, and people were feeling a lot of pressure. And although the results sometimes are very good, when they come at the expense of people, it's very bad at the end. So you have to step back. And so we've created a culture of feedback, to speak. Because when you speak out, and feedback needs courage, it's very easy to fill a survey that is very anonymous, by the way. But it's very difficult to face someone and to give them feedback the right way. Not about what they are, not by judging them, but by explaining what was maybe difficult in the behavior or difficult in the way they were dealing with it. So really courage is about speaking up, and speaking up, feedback is the best way to do it. And this is something that we are embracing within the culture of L'Oréal, and it's the first step towards courage. So for us, it's really feedback.
Feedback and people first.
And people first.
I completely agree with you.
Sometimes you need to let go of the goal.
Yes.
And really focus on the people. It is a decision.
Because it's the people who get you to that goal.
Definitely. And sometimes when we're under pressure ourselves, we tend to forget. So that's for us.
Thank you. That's very well said. Thank you very much. Zahra, focusing on your line of work, what, in your opinion, or what, in your experience, what kind of external obstacles, whether it's funding or access to money or culture or what have you, what kind of challenges or obstacles have you faced and how did you overcome them?
I come from a very male-dominated industry, and we basically our company is female-founded. Until recently, we were completely Until recently, we've been completely female-managed as well. So we now have 2 males. So we support diversity, inclusion, but specifically in our network, we have a network called Growth Investors and Founders Network, and I can see that the majority of projects or people looking for funding are males, and also the majority of people who are out there promoting themselves, looking for funding, speaking to people, engaging in business development activities are mostly males. And this comes back to the imposter syndrome, which we have discussed before, I think. Also, women, they tend to kind of self-fund. So, rather than going out and seeking for investments, they choose to self-fund. That's also the reason why we're not seeing many of this. However, now with Saudi and UAE Vision 2030, that is really supporting female empowerment, diversity, and all these activities to support and promote female entrepreneurship, I can see a lot of shifts happening. Also coming from a very male-dominated industry and being in the Middle East region for 15 years, I'm originally from Germany, I feel 100 times more empowered here running my business than back home actually.
Actually, you did mention a couple of things. I mean, with the work we do at the council, that was back in 2013, we rolled out a survey to the businesswomen community, and we wanted to find out what was actually stopping these women from starting their own businesses. And it really was narrowed down to 3 important points. Number one, they didn't feel they had enough confidence to do that. Although they have years and experience in, companies and organizations, but they didn't have the confidence to actually make the shift and move. The second one is not enough access to capital or funding, which was obviously the system was funding male-oriented businesses. And the third one is they didn't have enough access to information in the sense that how do I start a business? How do I grow a business? What are the foundations of setting up a business? Like this whole setup, scale up kind of access to that kind of information. But you're doing great, thank you, and I see the passion. I can feel it in your voice. Thank you so much for your valuable insights. Dr. Tracy, from a legal perspective, what legal or structural reforms do we need to make entrepreneurship more accessible to women?
Oh, that's such a big question, but I think we do need more fundamental rethink of financial structures, because I think right now, I'm thinking about funding, it's really oriented towards these high-risk, male-oriented, I'm going to call it vampire capitalism, exploitive kind of things. Like if you want to start a business that isn't going to make this massive ROIs, right? Through exploiting people in the third world or wherever, right? It's very hard, in the general environment because the system itself is really rigged towards that type of investment. So I mean that's it is a legal question, because I think we need the law, as I see the UAE doing in some areas, the law needs to intervene again in the market. We do. And like right now, there's huge pushback against that in the country that shall not be named. But there's a huge pushback for the government regulating business, regulating and being involved in the economy. But as a lawyer, anyone started a business, right? The only reason you exist is because the government lets you. Right? So I think the most general answer I have is we need to remember that the law and the government has a really important role in creating economies that are fair, accessible, just, that include women and DEI, which is not a bad thing, people, not a bad thing. Sorry. Yeah, that's my answer, is I think that we need to recognize that we have a role, and law and government has an important role in ensuring that we have more equality in our markets for all of the aspects of business.
And I mean, as a testament to this country, which is my home, born and raised here, I think this country is an example for many parts of the world to follow. And the proof is in the pudding. And we're just getting started. We're a very young country. We haven't been around for thousands and hundreds of years. So what we're doing so far and the strides that we're taking in that direction are all leading towards good, progressive, and yielding results. Which brings me to something very important. With all of the things that we talked about, the courage, the risk, the failure, the imposter syndrome, etc., and plus all that passion and grit that we're putting into the businesses to make them happen, facing challenges, making sure that it's all on the right track, legalities, etc. I feel like in all of this, there needs to be more attention focused on well-being. And in light of what's happening on a global scale everywhere, burnouts, mental well-being, mental health has now become a topic that everybody wants to, or many companies would like to include as part of their KPIs or objectives for their employees. Which brings me to the question directed to Sonali. Sonali, how, in your opinion, do you think businesses can foster inclusion and emotional well-being while still growing? So we grow, but then there's stress and there's tension. However, it's at the expense of our well-being. How do we create that kind of balance?
So I will, I think, start by focusing a little bit on the inclusion, because as a social enterprise, that is what we focus on very much. We do think that every business at different sizes has different challenges, and they have to approach both the inclusion aspect and the well-being aspect in a way that is customized for their requirements. And as we were saying, not at the expense of people, because people make things happen. When it comes to inclusion specifically, what we find is in the UAE, there's a huge push towards being more inclusive, which is fantastic. It wasn't the case 20 years back, but with the UAE and specifically with Dubai also, terming people with disabilities and calling them as people of determination, it was absolutely, it's not only necessary, it was actually accurate. Because the level of determination that a person of determination or someone with challenges and disabilities has to showcase on an everyday basis to do the same things we do is phenomenal. So from that perspective, there is a push in the country, and then that translates into businesses. Now businesses need to figure out how they will do that. It depends on the work that they're doing. They need to understand how can we customize what work we do for the abilities of that person of determination. In some cases, it's pretty simple. We need accessible flooring. We need a ramp, not something that looks like I'm climbing Mount Kilimanjaro or the Himalayas. It's something that I can walk on, something on which a wheelchair can go very easily. And I must say this is not just for a POD. We're all going to get old, and ramps will be up for all of us someday. So we might as well start building them now. It could be accessible. I'm sorry, I'm going to take a little minute extra just to elaborate.
1 minute, because I
promise.
Stay strong, baby. Stay strong.
I promise. Thank you. Assistive technology, right? We have a world of tech out there that can be employed for people. But this requires a mindset, and it requires the understanding that you have to give respect and dignity to every individual. Because not just us here, two people who can move around easily, who can speak easily, see easily, talk easily, should be able to have a spotlight under the sun. It is for everybody. Until we don't believe that respect and dignity has to be given, we will not be able to translate that into action. Very specifically for the work we do, we work with a lot of PODs who have multiple challenges. You can't have a straitjacket solution over there. You need to create something that is customized for that person. So businesses that need to work with experts who have experience for a long time working with PODs. We also need to take into account what the parents and caregivers and guardians do, because they spend their whole day with that person.
So basically, how can they build the confidence?
Yeah. What can they do? Or what do they need to do?
Actually, my answer will be related to your answers about the burnout and the self-awareness. Because nowadays, even young generation, we are all influenced by social media,
Yes.
Instagram and all of this stuff, and we see a lot of examples of successful success. Everyone is perfect, so family is perfect, business is perfect, we are rich, and so they actually show off the best results that they have. But we didn't see what's behind the scene. So how many failures did they have? So how many programs do they have now? So and basically to build confidence, you should have your own spotlight. So you have your own unique way. So and just close eyes for everyone who's show this successful success in social media especially. So have your own heroes in business, in movies, in books especially, and fight for your future, fight for your values, and yeah, confidence. Actually, nowadays.
I know it's a tough question, but according to you, on a personal level, with what we're encountering, what you're seeing, what would you tell everybody to focus on? Or, if we can pass on the mic to Angel, and then we can come back
It's
to
fine. I will do it. So even now, so I'm encouraged. So I'm confident in what I'm telling and why I'm here. So because I did all of these steps every day, and I'm still doing them every day. So I have one value, I have one path, and I have small steps. This is my confidence.
And she's succeeding really, really well.
Round of applause. I also want to add something to that about the social media aspect. I'm a mother of 2 children, 19, 15, and I just wish that the younger generation could actually adopt the mentality of there's influencers who influence you, and there's influencers who sell you, crap. All right, a life that's not realistic, and this is unfortunately where the youth are aiming and targeting. Like many of them come and ask, do we really need to go to university to get a degree? We just become influencers or do this and do that. Look, success stories on social media, but this is very important for every single woman in the room, every mother, every sister, every wife, simply because we are the ones who are bearing the children into this world. We need to let the younger generation understand and know that we have to stick to our values. Even if we decide to become influencers, we need to influence positively and not damage the way they think and shift their mindset and have them go the complete opposite direction. Thank you so much for that.
I can just add a small note, as you mentioned, so when we should go to universities, when we can just become an influencer and all of this stuff. Because even psychologists, students, or people, they agree with me that it's just a little case scenario when a person without education just earn millions or billions. So it's just a fake, basically. Just you were in the right time, in the right position, but most of the time you build your personality based on education. In the higher education, in the school education, so be successful in what you're doing, and while you have time, learn as much as you can. So
and even in your professional life,
professional
keep learning, especially these days. Everything changes super fast. So invest in learning, keep learning, just make sure you become more. What about Angel? What does Angel have to say about the same question?
So here I would like to highlight a research work I have just completed. It is about navigating resistance to strategic transformation in universities in Dubai, where I had the opportunity of interviewing university leaders in Dubai. So the surprising thing is what I expected to be was a procedural resistance which is happening in universities. But to my surprise, it turned another way around. It was deep emotional resistance connected to universities. So a place where we expect everything to be very cool, very peaceful, and nothing stressful. It was very surprising to find out that the leaders in universities are facing burnout. They have deep down emotional agility. They are weak. And here also, transformational leadership plays a role where vision, empathy has to be cultivated. And as students also, we get to learn that we are also working in this system. And
so your advice to them would be what exactly?
I would advise them to empower. Empowering should not just be an intention, but it should be an action. like the Bella and Bella Productions, they may have an intention, but if there's no action, there's no result. So our intention should be actionable. That's what I was going to say.
Thank you so much. And I think we're running short. We're running out of time. I want to leave one question before we open up the floor to Q&A to the panelists. Last piece of advice. If you were to tell everyone who's here with us today on your advice or the advice that you would give women entrepreneurs who want to lead with courage, what would be your advice to them? Sporadically.
So quickly, I would say know your worth. You have to know it before someone else decides it for you. I think that's very important because if you go somewhere, whatever it is, you can apply this to business, your everyday life, your dating life, everything. If you know exactly what is your worth and what is your value, then you can go straight. You can go straight on your path and overcome any obstacle. If you don't know your worth, especially such a competitive environment like we are having today, someone else will define it for you. And usually, they never do it to actually help you. It's a way for them to put you down or maybe use you in some ways. But if you really know what's your worth and you work on it and you keep implementing it, because you can keep studying, you can keep learning new things, you can also share your values, you can share your knowledge. But once you know your worth, then you can do whatever you put in your brain and whatever is your goal, you will achieve it.
Thank you. Okay, just very quickly, one thing I would say is you have to rewire your mindset. If what you want to be is an entrepreneur, literally swallow content surrounding that. Read books, listen to podcasts, attend sessions. Your diet is what you consume. And the other thing too that has helped me a lot is surrounding myself with people that are exactly where I want to be. I remember this time last year when Dr. Beatrice was speaking. I walked up to her and I told her, I would love to be a speaker. How do you speak? And she was like, Juliet, just speak. Very, very bluntly. And then through like learning from her, working with Gina, I was opportunity to also be a speaker. So that just shows the power of surrounding. That shows the power of like the people you allow to influence you. You are never going to be bigger than the circle you currently are in. So if you want to be better, you have to be around people that are operating on that higher level, just so that you are stretched to become more.
Yeah, and also my advice would be for any aspiring entrepreneur, speak to someone who has done this before. Speak to somebody who has done this, speak to somebody who has failed, speak to somebody who has been a success in this. Because entrepreneurship is not something, a lot of us have this romanticized version of being an entrepreneur, on social media, where you see someone sitting in Bali and having a really nice life.
It's real work.
And other than that, we see also the community. I think the community support is incredibly important. When you are first starting your business, as it was mentioned before, try to find communities that are supportive of your work, because this is going to be incredibly important. Experience as well. I think, it's always very good to have this industry experience. Again, social media, a lot of the young generation, they have this mindset that they see successful entrepreneurs on social media. They think they can just make it, but I think you need the industry experience as well, while also surrounding yourself with the right people.
Definitely.
Talking about communities.
Yeah, I'm a very big believer in that.
My advice is, again, I'm just being a lawyer today, do business setup properly, right? Get good advice about the nuts and bolts stuff, which is your legal structure, your financial, accounting. That's really, really important. That's the bedrock. So just that's, I think, where a lot of people go wrong. Get good business advice.
And I just want to share with you the quote that I had recently from the interview at US Head, like to be motivated from the people who I believe you would like to be in one day in the future. And this phrase I heard from Lewis Hamilton, so F1 driver, as everyone knows. So he said, we are all powerful beyond our measure. So we are all powerful beyond our measure. So we have boundaries only in our head. All of our failures are potentially in our head. but they basically will not happen in reality. It's just like a life, so never try, never know.
Are you guys taking notes?
I
You can write a book about it.
I also want to add, protect the assets, and the main asset is you. So in leading with courage, it's important to protect the main asset, and that's yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, every aspect of it. So that should be part of your business strategy, how to protect the asset, and the number one asset is yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, I was going to say the same. It's very important to take care of oneself and just to learn how to breathe. Because sometimes doing just a breathing exercise, taking the time to really live the moment and not think about too much about the future. But I wanted also to take this opportunity to just say one thing about even not only governments have a role to play in empowering women, it's also the role of corporations like ours. And corporations have a big role to play. And for example, we have a foundation that helps women within their businesses. We have also a very strong program which is called For Women in Science that gives endowments to women. And in the GCC, we have more than 60 women today who have been recognized by the L'Oréal and UNESCO Foundation for the For Women in Science program. And this is nothing as corporations, because we're not entrepreneurship. We also feel the responsibility towards women and towards also people with determination, of course, and to the whole society. I think it's a give and take. We're all individuals, but we're all communities, as you said. And that's it.
My take on leading with courage is, and at Project Happiness, I think we try to do this a lot, is lead with empathy. And empathy not in a way where you are just thinking about how the other person might feel, but really taking into account much more deeply about what their circumstances could be and how things could be, something that you cannot understand. Keeping the door open there for those unknown variables. Because when you lead with empathy, I consider it as a data collection method. You think of all the variables that could be impacting a situation. And then you take those variables and you're like, okay, could be this and could be that. What do I do next? And that I feel that it builds the strength and gives you courage to be able to take an action with the best possible vision, with the best possible belief that you're doing. In daily life, it can make a big difference to lead with empathy. It enables you to be more courageous on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you. Thank you. Did everyone say? Okay. Just keep the mic because we're going to open it up to some Q&A. But before I give you all the floor, I just want to recap. We got some excellent advice, beautiful insights from our panelists. I want to thank each and every one of you for the valuable information that you've shared. Thank you for sharing your personal journeys. Thank you for sharing your insights. This is all super. Very quickly, know your worth, revive your mindset, surround yourself with people that you allow to influence you. The sense of community is very important. Speak to someone who has done it before and who has failed, preferably legal and financial foundations. They're the bedrock of your business. Invest in it. Protect your main asset, which is you, and of course lead with empathy. And on leading with empathy, I want to close by saying one very important thing. I've been doing it for 15 years. I've worked with women, I've supported women entrepreneurs, women in large corporates, women in small, medium enterprises, and yes, I will have Dr. Beatrice 1 second. It's very important that every person who is in a leadership position, regardless of what size of teams you lead, even if you're working with one person with you, staying empathetic is important, simply because it is going to become a rare commodity moving forward. So make sure you nourish it, you apply it, and you pass it on to the people that you're working with. Because at the end of the day, Alone, we can do so much, but imagine how much more we can do and how much impact and value we can give to the community if we work with those who are with us in the company, not those who work for us. So for the future generation, for those who are venturing into the world of entrepreneurship, it's a jungle out there. Make sure you stay true to yourself, make sure you stay empathetic, make sure you stay kind, and above all, stay human. Just do that, and then everything else can be applied from what you learned from university and more. Dr. Beatrice, are you still with us? We would like your final take on... Yay, there she is. What would you like to leave the audience with? Last comments, last words, words of wisdom.
I'm grateful for all the messages that were shared before me. Lots of important reminders. My reminder would be to focus on yourself, because you are the most important asset, and you are the source of it all. So instead of dispersing your attention, which can go everywhere, just really anchor yourself and who you are, which means monitor your thoughts, notice when judgment, anxiety, fear, anger, jealousy, any other emotion coming up, and change it to how you want to change it and what you want to change it to, and be present in the moment, because the moment is the only thing that is real. Your past is already a past, and your future is already in a future, but your real asset is who you are and the present moment. So you staying grounded in your present moment and really being very observant of you and how you are thinking, what you are doing, how you are feeling, you can create an amazing reality for yourself. And the bottom line of it is to connect with your soul, because your soul is limitless and is abundant.
Thank you so much, Dr. Beatrice. Thank you. So basically, bottom line, courage does not require the absence of fear, it requires the presence of purpose. This is my last sentence that I will leave you with before I open up the floor to Q&A. Please, anybody has any questions to our amazing panelists? Show of hands. Questions? Okay. Mr. Di Francesco, can someone please hand him a mic? Do we have anyone to help us moderate this? No. Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Di Francesco. First of all, amazing panel. Thank you so much. And I will keep this as short as possible. It's a little bit of a statement, but a question for all of you to expand on some things you've already said. And it's about honesty, specifically about being honest with ourselves. There was several times said about knowing your worth or knowing your value, and I'd like some answer it how you want, but the difference between believing in yourself and knowing your value, which I do think that there's a difference, and then somehow addressing how most of us or some people delude themselves. Because knowing your value, but what are you doing every day, every week to learn, improve yourself, remain relevant? Because many people say, oh yes, I am. And then if you ask them, well, what have you done in the past week? Nothing. Right? It's like companies are always innovative. What have you done quantified in the past year? Nothing. Right? So just regarding knowing your value, well actually, what is that value? What are we doing? So how do we address that? How do you communicate that? Or just whoever's thoughts on that? Because I think for me it's important.
I'd like to. So encouraging innovation inside the team, I think, is an important factor to do that. So, we work with very young people, actually young talents, and I think other than also us every day learning something new, encouraging innovation within the team. So, which, in a smaller company, I think we have more chances to create fast change and encouraging this rather than a big corporation where bureaucracy takes over and takes like weeks and months to make a change. So the way we do it is basically to empower our staff to make decisions, to give them the confidence to do that, to have new ideas on a regular basis, and to celebrate this as well.
I would like to add something to this. In my case, for example, like for me, the way to define my value is also to see the impact that I can have on others, and also what brought me to have that value. So what I define my worth is mostly like what life has given to me. So I always try to tell my teams that you might have some skills that are born with you for you to be a leader, but you cannot be a manager if you've never been managed before, if you haven't experienced a bad manager, you know. So like I had my path that brought me to a place in which I can say, oh, I am bringing some value, but it's value that I might have taken from other people, from my experiences, and then in terms of what you do every day to bring it up. I do a lot of workshops. I participate to a lot of workshops of the council. Sometimes they're very far from what I do. But it's a way for me to learn more, and then maybe tomorrow I'll be like, oh, I have some extra value of this because I've learned about it. I have started to learn a new language after my 30s, and I chose a very hard one. But because the new market is opening, and being in consulting, I wanted to be closer to that, so then it's going to be other value. Because as a business consultant, a lot of people are like, okay, but what do you do? What am I paying you for? I have to justify that value and do it like all the things that I've been doing, so then I can say, okay, this is what you're paying for.
Yes. Anybody has another response?
I promise. Sorry. So I in 2 ways to answer this, and one is from a personal perspective, which is as an entrepreneur, I have to be honest about what I know and what I don't know. And if I don't know, I need to learn that. Because I cannot say I can do something if I have not learned it or experienced it. Yes, you can always no longer fake it till you make it. You really have to work hard. So you kind of be honest with yourself continuously. As a company, as Project Happiness, we work with people of determination, and their honesty and valuation of people and honesty is very different. There's dignity and respect of the person regardless of what they can do. You have to, for us as a society, we have to figure out what they can do, because we come with a lot of preconceived notions about what they can do, what they can't do. And that's something we've experienced. I'm just going to take a second to say, this is a card. We work with POD artist. Masira, our artist, is here. She's sitting at the back. And she attended an exhibition where her cards and her creations, her artistic work was being showcased. And people came by, everybody said, this is beautiful. And she went back home and she acknowledged her value on the card and said everything that they said. People said, very nicely, wow, smart, wonderful. She wrote that down. How many of us can acknowledge our value in that way and be honest with ourselves and say, look, I crossed this threshold. A lot of us cannot do that. So I would appreciate it.
We have a question from the audience. Yeah, let's start here.
Hello everyone, my name is Nanesha. I just want to say, first of all, I'm leaving the room feeling so inspired. This panel was such a nice talk. My question to you all is that, how do you know when is the right time to take a risk? And in case you do take a risk, how do you deal with failure of it? Yeah, thank you.
First off, there is no right time to take a risk. You just do it. And there's something I told someone here is, you need to understand that you're not chained to anything. If you take that risk and you realize that it's not something that aligns, you leave. But at least you've tried. At least you've known that you have given it your best shot. So I think when we wait for timing, we end up procrastinating and then we do not do the thing. There's no right time. Just take the risk. And in terms of how do you deal with failure, embrace it. You will fail. To walk, you have to fall down. You must fail. Like it's a cycle of life. You have to fail. So when you view failure as something that is giving you a signal that you're doing something well versus there's something more that you have to learn, you're able to rest in failure, knowing that it's not something that affects your worth. You're a human being. You will fail. I will lie to you, and I will lie to you if I told you like some of the things I wanted to do, I didn't fail. I failed. I got an E in one of my courses in chemical engineering, which made me realize that this was not the path for me. And then eventually I switched courses. That was failure, but if I took it as, oh, I'm dumb, oh, I don't know how to do this, then I wouldn't have graduated with a first class in business and finance. So you see, the knowledge was there, but it was in the wrong room. So that is what failure is.
I just want to add one more tip, basically that helps me. So if the life gives you two opportunities to go an easy way or to go in the hard way, so it's better to choose the hard way. Because the most valuable thing that you will get during the process of ups and downs, not the result that you have. The result is just a reflection of your done. So basically, the harder the better. The higher the risk, the higher the results.
I honestly would say don't make it that hard on yourself, because you really need to enjoy the journey as well. You're putting a lot of pressure. Things need to be really, really simpler than this, honestly. If you feel it, then go for it. And there's a difference between your doing and your being, and I think this is what you were trying to explain. And I think this is very specific to women and to the question of the gentleman before about justifying the value. The value, we don't need to justify it. We are what we are. We have enough self-awareness with time, and we just be. And I think it also comes to what Dr. Beatrix was saying. It's just, if you live within the moment, within the present moment, then the past is the past, and the future, if you understand this notion that the future has no impact on you because it's not there yet, then the fear will be less. And then you take it one small step at a time, and then things will come. But it's very difficult to explain this to the youth. This will come. It will come with time and experience.
Thank you so much. We're unfortunately running out of time, so we're going to have to end this session. Thank you all for joining. Thank you to our beautiful panelists. It was a pleasure and definitely a challenge to moderating this much of a number of